Hi. Looks like we've got some people rolling in here. 6:59, so we'll give it a few more minutes before we get started. Oh, I've already got a message here in my Q&A. Let's pull it up. My mouse isn't working very well. That's okay. I haven't started yet. I'm going to go get my mouse. BRB. Mouse to the rescue. I'm going to need this anyway. Here we go. All right. Okay. Yes, I can see your comments. I'll just tell you now while we're waiting here, this is an interactive webinar, and you are going to need a pen and a paper for when we do our exercises, and you're going to need to know how to use the Q&A. So look down at the bottom of your screen, at the very bottom of it there's a thing that says polls, there's a thing that says raise hand. I want you to look at the thing that says Q&A, okay? Click on it, and then, let's get started, right? It's 7:01. We can just start with some practice questions here so that everyone feels comfortable using the Q&A, because I like hearing from my people. All right, so can you tell me where you are from? All right, and I should see several of you popping up here because I want to hear from each of you where you're from. And while we're doing that, I'll just kind of get started. So I am Dr. Laura Mach, and I'm a general dentist. I'm a life coach. I'm a practice owner. And what I do is I coach women who own dental practices to help them have more life satisfaction in their practice ownership experience and with their families and stuff. So what I'm going to be doing tonight is introducing to you the concept of being able to feel the way you want to feel. And we talked about, in the title, we talked about confidence. So we'll be using that as an example, but really the life coaching tools that we use can be applied to any situation where you're feeling something that you don't want to feel, that's unpleasant. The tools bring you into awareness of why you're feeling that way, and then helps you understand how to get where you're going. All right, I got some people telling me where they're from. It's not everybody, because I see how many participants there are. So make sure if you just joined me, I want to hear where you're from, because I'm going to ask you ladies a bunch of questions. I've got one. Erin says she is from Colorado. Erin, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. And Rebecca says she is from Dayton, Ohio, and it's 10 degrees today. Oof, we are having a cold winter, aren't we? I'm going to Mexico on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to my 75 and sunny. Is anybody here do you have travel plans to go? Sweeta says she is from Florida. I thought you were in North Carolina. Did you used to be in North Carolina? Don't worry about it. You don't have to answer, but awesome. I wish I was from Florida right now. Oh, Tampa. Okay. Okay. Very good. All right. Anybody else want to tell me where they're from, or if they're going somewhere on vacation? And then also make sure you have a pen and a paper. And I'm going to ask you another question here in just a second. Also, I don't know about you ladies, but it's Thursday evening, which means that my dentisting work week is done. And I got this webinar that I got to put on. So I'm going to be celebrating. I have a bottle of rosé sitting in my refrigerator waiting for me. And while you guys are hanging out here, if you want to grab yourself a glass before, while we're doing the webinar, then that would be great too. Okay. Northern Virginia, maybe you moved from Nova, which might be Northern Virginia. I don't know. Is that like the DC area maybe? I don't know. All right, so I'm going to ask you another question, ladies, and I'd like to hear from each of you on this. The question is, I want you to go back in your minds to the moment when you decided to buy or start a practice. I want you to think about how that felt when like you signed the papers for $500,000 or $1 million loan, but like you did it because you were super, what? Was it excited? Was it hopeful? Maybe it was nervous. Go back in your mind and I want to hear from you how you felt when you first bought your practice. And while I'm waiting to hear from you, I will say that I was, first of all, I was clueless. I was 6 months out of dental school when I bought my practice. And I think I was like, I felt pretty confident. And it was because I didn't know what I didn't know. But that confidence was kind of like, you know what, I did the thing. I graduated from dental school and now I'm here. And if I did dental school, which I did with 3 small children, so I can do this too. And Shweta, I'm pretty sure you haven't bought a practice yet, but you could imagine what it would feel like when you get to, and I'd love for you to answer that too. All right, and Erin says, nervous and naive. Yeah, that's pretty good, but optimistic and excited. I love it. Yeah, we just really don't know what a journey it is when we're buying a dental practice until we get there. All right, anybody else going to answer me on that? Maybe not. I'll give you guys just a second longer and then I'll look at my notes while we're doing this. Okay. Oh, what I find is that once we get into the weeds of owning a practice, you know, we've got these loan payments, both our student loans and our practice loan. And then we've got patients and their agenda and things like, I just want my free cleaning, or it can only come at 4 p.m., you know, or employees not coming to work or quitting or fighting with each other. And sort of like a mental burden, you know, and not to mention the worrying about the clinical practice, right? So did I do a good enough margin there? Should I have redone that crown? You know, things like that. These are hard thoughts that we have. And what happens is our brain makes habits out of these difficult thoughts because the brain goes, well, that was a big feeling that we had right there when we had that thought. So maybe I should think this again. And as we go through our practice owning journey, things start to spiral down. And it's not because you did anything wrong, ladies. It's because this magical combination of owning a human brain, plus all the different things that come with owning this dental practice. So what I want to hear from you next is name some feelings about your practice that you have had this month that weren't so maybe like excited and optimistic anymore. So as you have gone through the weeds and maybe done a little bit of spiraling, not that you always spiral, but if you tell me that you always feel confident and happy about your practice, well, first of all, you probably wouldn't be making time for this webinar, right? And then also, I would question if you have a human brain, maybe you're a robot if everything feels great to you. So I'm going to tell you, while I'm waiting for you to answer, some of the things that I felt this month in my practice. Okay, worried, annoyed, stressed, overwhelmed, confused, grateful, joyful, love, tired. I was tired this week when my associate was sick. I have a wonderful associate, and I had a 12-unit case to seat, including a difficult, poorly angled number 8 implant. And then everything from 3 to 14. 14 was also an implant. I had all that to seat, plus 3 columns of hygiene to supervise. So I felt tired that day. All right, I'm sure burned out is a good one right now from somebody. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know what your name is, but I'm glad you're here. And then I've got annoyed at cancellations and difficult patients, discouraged at hiring. Ha, yeah, you and everybody else. Everyone's understaffed right now, and worried. So burned out, worried, discouraged, and annoyed. Yeah. I hear a lot of feelings like that. And sisters, I am there with you. I mean, just because I'm a life coach doesn't mean I get like a pass on having a human brain. My brain does the exact same thing that yours does. I don't know how to say that pronoun, but it does it. And I'm in the weeds with you many times. But then also I have this skill that I've learned over time, both through experience and from my certification, where I take dentisting human brains and I go, we can make this easier on you. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about tonight, is just helping you see how you can change from this unpleasant, yucky feeling, see why you're feeling it, and then make something that feels more intentional, whether it's confidence or something else. And sometimes we have situations where we don't want to feel something pleasant, which I'll get to during the meeting, but I'm not going to be able to teach you how to feel rainbows and daisies every day, but I can teach you how to understand your feelings, where they come from, and how they affect your dental practice. Okay? All right, so let's get started. Let me just check and see if I've got any more new comments. Not yet. Okay. All right. So I want to tell you a little bit about my own story and how I landed where I am right now. I was a non-traditional student. I had 2 children when I got accepted into dental school. And by the time I graduated, I had 3. I had 1 during my sophomore year of dental school. And so when I graduated, I felt kind of like I was behind the curve and I had an opportunity to purchase a practice. And so I just did it. I just bought that practice, and 6 months after graduation, I was the owner. And the associate was my seller. So not only was I an owner, but I had an associate dentist. And actually he did most of the production back then because it had been a 1 dentist practice. So I kind of chilled. I wrote the payroll. I wrote the loan checks. I waited to see if anybody would want to come and see me. And over the years, I built the practice into a larger, kind of like more like a 2 dentist practice. And then the associate retired, as sellers do. And I had myself a really big practice for 1 dentist. And so I hired a top tier consultant, and they helped me kind of mold it into a money-making machine. I mean, in the mid 2015, 2016, 2017, I alone was producing, I'm collecting actually, no, $1.4, $1.5 million in my practice. And that's collection, not production. Production was quite a bit more than that, and which I'll get into because we had a lot of write-offs back then. I had a super strong team. I have amazing employees. I had really happy patients. We were taking 6 weeks of vacation a year at this point. So I'm in my story here, I'm in like 2018 or so. That was kind of the height of when things got bad, because I'm about to get to that part. So the consultants had taught me how to make this practice really good, like the really good to-do list of how to talk to the patients, how to lead, that type of thing. But the problem is that my mind was still stuck in being a brand new practice owner. And back then, my leadership strategy was to just make sure that I didn't make anybody mad at me. And so any day of the week, if nobody was angry at me at the end, then I was like, I guess I did a good job. And so, like, if somebody wanted me to pull a tooth that I didn't really want to, but they kind of wanted me to, then I'm like, okay, sure, I'll pull the tooth. And then if somebody came to me and they're like, I want next week off. And I'm like, okay, you can have next week off. And somebody says, I don't want to pay for perio maintenance. Can I have a prophy? Sure. And so I'm bending this way, and my brain didn't catch up to the good leadership that I was trying to show. And basically, I had these habits of thinking that were getting in the way of me enjoying my practice. So, for example, here are some of the thoughts that I was thinking a lot, which I can look back now and recognize. But back then, I had no idea about life coaching or anything like that. This practice might fail. That was literally something that went through my mind every week, even though I was collecting $1.5 million in a year. Okay, here's another one. It's not enough. It's not going to be enough. That is an old thought that I had from like back when I grew up super poor, and it was still in my brain. And there's so many things to do was another thought that when I would think that, I didn't want to do anything. And each of those thoughts created feelings that weren't very good for me and my leadership. First of all, I didn't enjoy those feelings at all. And then besides that, they created feelings like overwhelm and stress that turned me into a less effective leader. So we're here in 2018 now. So we're back in my story. It's in 2018. And this was the year that I basically gave in to my unhappiness. And I secretly hated going to work. It really showed in my leadership. So it was also reflected in my numbers, because all of a sudden I was seeing that really high production slip, because when you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, it changes how you're interacting with your patients and your employees and yourself. And we're going to look at that more. We're going to get into it a little bit deeper when we get out the life coaching tool that helped me understand what I was doing. So near the middle, or the maybe 3/4 of the way through 2018, this is when I discovered life coaching kind of accidentally. And at that time, it wasn't about dentistry at all. It was just a podcast, because I'm kind of like a podcast nut. I listen to a lot, and I found one that was on life coaching. I'm like, sure, yeah, let's give this a try. And what I learned really blew my mind, because I found out at that time that the feelings I was experiencing, the dread and the overwhelm and the worry, weren't coming from external circumstances. They weren't coming from my big to-do list. They weren't coming from everybody wanting a piece of me. They were coming from within myself. They were coming from what I was thinking in my mind. And not only did I learn that, but I also learned that when I was feeling stressed or overwhelmed or dread, I wasn't acting the way I wanted to act and show up as a leader in my practice. So that was like, okay, not only could I feel a different way about my practice, but when I feel different, it's going to change how I lead. Because if I feel confident, or if I'm having fun, or if I love my practice, then those feelings are going to drive me to behave in the way that I want to make a practice that I love. Okay. So all of those times when maybe my employees were sick or unhappy, or my crowns didn't fit, or my bank account numbers changed in one way or another, or my proximal contact of my posterior composite was weak, and I was like, should I redo this or should I not redo this? All those things, my brain was interpreting what was happening in a way that human brains kind of do. So we kind of have to remember that brains interpret the world in terms of how safe we are as an organism. Okay, so the brain's freaking out and kind of stressing and going, well, this is bad for survival. This is bad for survival. This is bad for survival. And giving me these stressful thoughts and feelings. And what I learned in life coaching is that even though my brain automatically pops up these thoughts and suggests things to think, since I have higher thought as a higher organism, I can actually change how I look at a situation. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually teach you these steps. So this is when you're going to need your piece of paper and your pen. If you haven't gotten one yet, if you joined us later, go ahead and grab yourself a piece of paper and a pen, because we're going to do this kind of interactively. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a model that's a life coaching tool that I use to teach you how this works. By the time I'm done, you will know everything that you need to know to feel differently about your practice if you want to. All right, so we're going to use this life coaching tool that's called the model. And I want you to get out your piece of paper and just write these 4 words. So fact, and that's short for fact of the situation, which is like the start of my model. And then thought, and that's going to describe, what's going on between those ears. Emotion, so what's the physical vibration that runs through my body? And we're humans, so we name those emotions. And then actions. Each of these things leads to the next. So I have a fact, so something neutral, like data coming in from my brain, and then my brain goes and like processes it, decides, is this good for survival or is it bad for survival? A lot of things are bad for survival in human brains. And the fact leads to the thought, okay? And then the thought creates the emotion. This always works this way. Our feelings start in our brains. Our brains do the thinking, and then our body tells us what to do by giving us an emotion. And I'll explain that a little bit more. And then, of course, like I said, it tells you what to do. So the emotions drive your actions. That's why when I was dreading work, when I was overwhelmed and stressed, the numbers started to go down. My team wasn't as happy because my actions were being driven by an unhelpful emotion. Okay. And this is key, ladies, because if we can get to feeling something better, then our entire practice gets better, because our practice lives in this line. Our actions are the things we do in any day. And so for I did a filling, I talked to my office manager, I did my notes, I called the patient, whatever, it's all actions. How about I reconsidered my contract with Delta Dental? Action line. Okay, so let me look at my notes here and take a drink of water. Thanks for your patience. I'm going to tell you another story. Step number 1, after you set up this grid, is to identify your emotion. That can be challenging for us, because in our society, we're hedonists, meaning we seek pleasure, we avoid pain. So a lot of times if we are feeling something unpleasant, we kind of like to hide from it by buffering, meaning like drinking alcohol, having a chocolate snack, watching Netflix, scrolling through social media. We're doing things to distract ourselves. But if we're going to do this, then the first thing that we need to do is we need to identify and name the emotion that we are feeling. So back in 2018, I built this big practice, right? And when I was building it, I was like, any patient is a good patient, right? So my practice was 80% Delta Dental. And so this is why I was producing so much, but collecting quite a bit less. In fact, I was writing off more than I brought home every year. My annual write-offs at that time were something like $350,000 a year in Delta Dental write-offs. Oops, I didn't need to point at that right yet, just yet. So I was bringing home less than I was writing off. It was super busy. I was wearing my roller skates every day. I had my 3 columns of hygiene and my 3 operatory chairs. And it was boom, 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 and so tired every day. And I wanted to be free of this income ceiling that I had put myself in by being in network with Delta and then attracting all these Delta patients. But I had a problem, which is that I was afraid. Okay. So this is the emotion that I'm going to put here. And you can write that down too, if you want to, just to help you see how the model practice works. I identified my emotion and it was afraid. Emotions are physical vibrations that move through our organism, and they're not unique to just humans. Anyone who has a dog can clearly see that other organisms also experience emotions, and evolution or nature put the emotion inside our bodies to help us know what to do. For example, so I live in Iowa and we live on this little farm. We have a cornfield. The deer come out. And so I always use deer examples too. If a buck, it's November, and a buck sees a doe, how does he know what to do? It's because he gets a physical vibration through his body that's like, okay, now I need to go mate with the doe. Okay. So, and it's the same, you have a baby, they put the baby in your arms and you just love it so much. You have this intense physical need to take care of the baby. Okay. And so if I'm feeling afraid, then this is nature's way of telling me what to do. But the only thing is that it's a little bit of a broken system for us humans because we have changed our environment so much while the brain has stayed about the same. So a lot of times when we get an emotion, it's to try to protect the organism, but there's no lion to run away from anymore. So I was feeling afraid of my patients and Delta Dental. Okay. Now the next question is, what was I thinking? That's the next step. What was I thinking in my mind that was making me feel afraid? And I'll tell you what my thought was. I have it written down here in my notes. My practice might fail if I leave Delta Dental. My practice might fail if I leave Delta Dental. And I know there's a lot of people thinking that right now, or other insurances. And the fees are going down. The patients are super in love with their insurance. And it's like, I'm tired of being on this hamster wheel, but I don't know how to get out. I'm afraid because what if my practice fails? So it's this electrical stimulation, meaning my practice might fail, that's making me feel afraid. And this is totally what was happening for me in 2018. The next step is to take a look at this thought and ask myself, what are the facts of the situation that are creating this thought? The thought is just my brain's interpretation of what's happening. It's not a fact. It's not true or untrue. It's okay. It's the interpretation. It's not an authority. It's not you. You can watch it, so you know it's not you. And so what we want to do is we want to name a fact of the situation, and we want it to be 100% neutral. So everybody in the world would agree that, yes, this is a fact of the situation. It's not arguable at all. So I couldn't put here, Delta Dental is terrible. Okay, because not everybody else is going to agree with that. There's plenty of people who are like, Delta Dental is amazing. I even used to be a neighbor with someone who thought they were great. I mean, like a dentist. And I was like, really? Okay. But anyway, I have a fact here because I already got this ready. And my fact is inarguable. And that was, I'm in network with Delta. You could look at the contracts that I signed back in 2008 when I bought the practice. And you could go, yes, she is in network with Delta Dental. Okay. So the next step, I'm fleshing out this model. The next step is for you to look at how you act when you feel the emotion that you're wanting to change. And this is kind of fun / hard / humbling when you get to this part, because you're usually looking at some stuff that maybe you wish you didn't do. So like, for example, I have down here that when I was feeling afraid of Delta Dental, I didn't change anything. It's not like when I was feeling afraid, it's not like I went and, like joined Gary Takas's club on reducing your insurance independence, or started my membership program. When you're afraid, just kind of picture how you act when you're afraid. You're nervous, so you don't make any decisions at all. You don't take any action. I also complained a lot. I complained to my friends, and I complained to my front desk. Every once in a while, I complained to the patients. I'd be like, well, your insurance doesn't really pay me very much for this. And then later I'd be like, why did I say that? The patient doesn't care about that. They don't care if I get to buy a boat this year. I mean, not that I really want to buy a boat, but that's always their joke, So I complain a lot. And the other thing is that I would look for more evidence that I was a victim of the system. See, Delta Dental has it all set up so you can't escape. They don't even send you checks after you get out of network. And so I can't get out of network. So I'm like looking for evidence, because brains really like to be correct. I'm looking for evidence that I actually am a victim of the system. And then I just kept grinding out dentistry, just drilling on teeth, fixing the cavities, doing the occasional crown, and just grinding it out. Okay, so I don't change. I complain. And you can be thinking to yourself how you act when you feel afraid. Okay, so if you want to add any, won't hurt my feelings, you can write it down on your paper. See myself as a victim of the system. Grinding out dentistry, which is like the perfect word, isn't it? You ever get to the end of the day and like your hand feels a little numb and your neck is just super tired because you've been looking down, grinding on teeth literally all day, except for at least one of you is periodontist in here. So different kind of grinding out, but you probably get out the hand piece sometimes. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. Oh, wow, that's really hard to read, isn't it? Let me see if I can do better. It doesn't matter, right? I already told you guys. It's fine. So we get this all kind of fleshed out, and we really look at how we're acting when we're feeling this way that we don't want to feel. And the next step is to look at these two components, the fact of the situation and the thought, and really understand that they're completely separate. Okay, so for example, I'm thinking in my mind, my practice might fail. But that's only one way to look at the fact that I'm in network with Delta Dental. There are so many ways that we could interpret that fact. And my brain happened to do it in a way that was, protective of the organism. But there's plenty of other ways to look at it. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, do I see that this is a thought, and thoughts are voluntary? Meaning I can change them if I want to. I don't have to continue to think in my mind that my practice might fail, because I'm a human, which means the thought is mine, this brain is mine, this electrical meat that lives between my ears is mine. And if I want to come up with a new way to look at the fact that I'm in network with Delta, I totally can. For example, I could think, wow, over the years that this Delta Dental checks have paid a lot of my kids' tuition. Or this is amazing. I have all these patients. I'm curious. What am I going to do next? There's just the example being, or the point being that it's voluntary, meaning you can change it if you want to. And that's a really important step, is to just recognize that this is the immovable part and this is the voluntary part. And sometimes that can be really humbling to realize that what you've been assuming is a fact is actually a thought, but it's also the most empowering thing that I or you can do for yourself. Because once you recognize that you can change it and that it's only you, then you're empowered to make a change. Okay, so would I be willing to change my thought about the fact if it would change how I feel? And remember, not only is feeling afraid unpleasant, but it's also creating bad leadership, right? So would I be willing to look at this fact in a way that was more beneficial for me and more enjoyable? Thoughts are just sentences in our mind. So you can look at it, you can look at those thoughts, and you can create something new. And I just got a new comment, which I'm so happy. If you guys want to leave new comments, please feel free. I will be asking more questions again later. But Deborah says, this can also be in our personal life. Yes, yes. All of my mastermind participants who've gone through my program, we always end up talking about our personal lives too. Because this model is applicable to any situation in your life. So we're using our dental practices as a laboratory for understanding how the model affects our leadership, but you can use the model with parenting, relationships, your own parents, your friends, anything, okay? All right, so those are the steps for awareness. And this is the first half, maybe the first 3/4 of being able to change how you feel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you write out another grid, same exact thing, fact, thought, emotion, actions. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase most of these, and you can take this top line in Network with Delta and add it to your next model at the top under fact, okay? And I'm going to model for you how this works when you're changing something to be more intentional. So I say the word intentional instead of happy or pleasant, because sometimes we have situations where it's not appropriate to feel happy, right? So maybe, 2 summers ago, my dad passed away. I didn't want to feel cheerful about that. I wanted to mourn and I wanted to feel gratitude, if that makes sense. So when we're talking about an intentional model, we're talking about, how do I want to feel about this? Okay. All right. So we're going to make the new grid. We've already become fully aware of the fact that my practice might fail is simply a thought. It says, blah, 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 and we can change it if we want to. And so what we're going to do now is we're just going to invite our brain to be more aware of what's happening. Okay. So how do I want to feel about this fact? I haven't changed it yet. I am in network with Delta Dental. This is back in 2018, because actually I'm not in network with them anymore. But this fact is the same. You can't change that, but you can change how you feel about it. And I want you to think about how you want to feel about some fact in your life. So you could even actually make a third grid here, and you could write fact. What is the fact in your life that you want to change? Make sure you write down something really neutral. And I'm going to show you how this works, okay? So I'm going to put down that I want to feel confident. I'm in network, but I got options. I got options, and you know what? I went to dental school, and I can do this too. I went to dental school with 3 children. I can deal with this, okay? So the first thing is that we decide how we want to feel. We want to choose something that's realistic. For example, I gave you the example of my father passing away. I'm not going to choose that I want to feel happy-go-lucky about that, okay? But I do believe that I can feel confident, especially if I access all the amazing badass things that I've done. I think maybe I could get there. And then what I want to do is I want to actually think about what I could plant in my mind as a new thought. And this new thought is going to be something that I want to like tattoo on the insides of my eyelids, or like write on my bathroom mirror, or have it everywhere. Because what I want to do is make a new neural pathway where my brain gets used to thinking the thing. Okay. And so this is the part where we get a little bit creative. Like, what could we think? We have to make sure it's something believable and that it creates the correct feeling. And there are a bunch of different things that I could think about being in network with Delta Dental. And what I chose to think is, I've got this. I've done harder things. And then I can just reference in my mind all the harder things that I've done. And this is what I thought. I've got this. I've done harder things. Other things that you could think might be, I wonder what amazing thing my brain is going to come up with to help me with this challenge. Or if you just wanted to stay in gratitude, because even if you're feeling gratitude, it's going to change your actions, right? It could be, wow, my life is so amazing. And then, on the eyelids or on your mirror, wow, my life is so amazing. And just take a moment to say it to yourself all the time, instead of letting your brain auto-populate things where your brain's like, oh, we got to protect the organism. I'm going, this is what I choose to think. I choose to think, I've got this. I've done harder things. And then in the intentional model, we explore how we would act if we felt confident. Because again, remember, the feelings, the emotions drive our actions. And that's how we create a practice that we love working in. Because if we've got love here, or confidence, or amazing feelings, then it helps us do the actions that we want to do. So for example, I might put here, create my membership program. Listen to Gary Takas. You guys know Gary Takas? He has the original, see if I can spell his name right, the original dental podcast. And I'm very grateful because he had me on like 3 years ago when I was just a baby. I had a YouTube channel, and he has this podcast called Reducing Insurance Dependence. And I've listened to a lot of those episodes, and he is a very big proponent for doing that, to reducing your insurance dependence. And I can see that my ring light is destroying this. I'm not even going to write on it. So you could just ask yourself, well, how do I act when I'm confident? Well, I offer to help more patients. I say, I could help you with that. Does this bother you here do you get broccoli stuck between your two teeth? I could fill that in. Or, you have these cracks, Mrs. Jones, and I've never seen those cracks heal themselves, but I can help you get them covered before they split your root. Or you're talking to your team and you're not feeling afraid that they're going to leave because you're feeling confident. And so you say, hey, employee, thank you so much for working for me. And this is something I want you to change. So you're confidently leading your practice because you have that confidence. You see what I mean? Instead of being afraid or in your hidey hole and you're just hiding in your office and staring at the schedule in your bank accounts. See the difference? Okay. So then just visualize it, because visualization is so effective. So you make your action line and you put in all the amazing things that you can do for yourself when you're feeling confident. You visualize all those things that you could do. And then you think your thought and visualize, and it is so crazy powerful when you do that. And that, my friends, is basically all of the steps. I've already given it to you. So if you're bored or you run out of time, I've already taught you everything that you need to know to change and to create more confidence, or whatever it is that you want to feel about your practice and even in your life. But if you stick with me, I have more to say. Just so you know, I forgot to tell you this at the beginning. I am going to be giving away a gift that is worth over $1,400 to one live participant here tonight. So if you can stay, it's 7:44. I will be done in the next 15 minutes. Okay. And then we'll do the giveaway and I'll do some questions at the end. I have a little bit more to tell you. And so stick with me if you can. All right. So in 2019, I did my coaching certification and I started coaching women dentists, one dentist at a time. And basically what we did is we used this model to create for these ladies more control, more intention for how they're feeling, which then translated into better practices, better leadership, more life satisfaction, more free time, because if you're feeling empowered, then you can carve out more of your life for what you actually want to do. More money, because my program goes over how to look at your mind when you are getting ready to suggest treatment to your patients. And so it gets you opening your mouth a little bit more and suggesting more things for your patients. More fun, more joy, better leadership, using the model to understand what is going on with your employees and why they do this or why they do that, and how we can say to the employees, this is what I want you to do, in a way that's compassionate and that keeps in mind the social intelligence that you need to really help them have a good experience. And so last year, what we did is we transformed this one-on-one coaching to a group. So we've been doing a group mastermind format for a year where the ladies come together with me once a week and we dive deep into a topic of practice leadership. We start with learning the model and the components of the model, and I teach the ladies how to make their own models. And then we start applying it to different facets of leadership and life, relationships, all those things. So I've been doing that for a year. And what I did is I took all of my best material and I condensed it into a 6-month program that I am launching next month. Okay, so what I'd like to do is tell you about this 6-month program, and then I'm going to get to the giveaway. Okay, so if you have a few more minutes, just stick with me, okay? So far, nobody has left this webinar, so hopefully that means I'm being useful. Also, I think there's one more. Any advice on how to change your thought if there is another person involved in the action part? Yes, I will get to that when I get to the question section. Okay, so I want to explain how my mastermind works. I took all the stuff that I've been teaching and I condensed it into this 6-month program. And we meet most weeks. And by the end, you will know how to create the emotions that you want and how to lead your team, your employees more effectively. It includes lessons on how to correct them, so in a way that's positive and helps them have a good experience in actually getting corrected. And it's such a good deal. And since it also teaches you how to make more money, it's very easy for me to say that it would help you. As long as you apply yourself and you show up, you will make at least 10 times your investment, because it makes it so easy to open your mouth and talk to your patients when a lot of times we're kind of like sorry and we don't really want to suggest the very best care. So we go through that and it ends up being very valuable for that, plus creating free time. And besides the weekly meetings, the mastermind participants also get my library of independent study videos on things like correcting the employees, making your own models, creating a vision for your practice. And also, when I did my weight loss, my certification for becoming a life coach, I also did a weight loss certification, which I used to sell as a program, but I don't anymore, but I have all the videos. So the mastermind participants have free access to all those videos just in case they want to do like an independent study on weight loss. Plus, the mastermind participants get access to me between meetings over video text. text. So we usually use something called Marco Polo, where you can send me a, hey, this is what's happening. What do you think? And then I'll send back something, ask you some questions back. And it's sort of like remote coaching, which many of the mastermind participants use. And then we make a little community. And usually that's on WhatsApp, where we kind of bounce ideas off of each other and help each other out. There's some really amazing women in this mastermind that stay in and have stayed for a year and longer. And they have so much experience. And so we're always kind of asking each other, hey, what do you think about this or that? So all that is included in the mastermind program, that's private online space and all that stuff. And what I would like to do is sincerely invite you to join me in my next group. It's going to launch in early March. So you have a little bit of time to get your schedule arranged and stuff. 6 months, deep dive, all the tools you need. It's so helpful because I taught you everything, but there's almost nobody who can apply that on their own. They need a coach to help them separate out their thoughts from their facts. And even I still have a coach. I've been doing this for years now, and I still actually have 3 coaches right now for different things in my life. And I still need someone, every human does, needs someone to help them separate out the facts from the thoughts. And so anyway, this group is going to meet on Wednesday mornings at 8 o'clock. And if your brain just had a little freak out and said, well, I have patience during that time, just stick with me for a minute. Just stick with me for a little bit. And I think I can help you with that. Now, one-on-one coaching with me for 10 weeks is $4,000. That is not what I am suggesting for you today, because the group coaching is a way better deal because we do it all together. The group coach is $3,000 for 6 whole months. And yes, you can use it. You can use your business account as a business expense. Make sure you check with your accountant, because I don't give tax advice, but that is basically what all of my clients do. And now, right now, I know, because I am a life coach, that brains do not like change. That is one of the things that brains kind of do. They're like, oh, maybe we should think about this before we do the thing. Which, by the way, if you already know that you want to join, it is capped. So you could hop on over right now to my website, loveyourpractice.net. And right on the homepage at the top, it's join the mastermind now. And you could click that, and then you'd be in. Okay. But let me take you back to the fact that brains don't like change, and they'll give you reasons not to change, because change feels kind of dangerous. And it goes back to the brain wanting to protect the organism from danger. Okay. But what I'm offering you is not dangerous. So if your brain's freaking out a little bit, I'm just going to help you out because I've done this life coaching thing. First of all, number one, if anyone is thinking, but I see patients during that time, I just want to help you see that this is your practice and you get to run it any way you want. And if you make a minor change to your schedule, you will create so much time abundance in the mastermind program that you will be patting yourself on the back for years to come that you made this little change. And this is how much work it took for me, because up until last week, I see patients on Wednesdays. And I literally told myself, well, I can't do coaching on Wednesdays because I see patients on Wednesday. Like, I had the same thing. And I walked up to my front desk person and I said, I'm going to start doing coaching on Wednesdays. Let's look at the schedule. And she's like, okay, and was looking at it. And we said, well, would we do this or this? You know, it was literally like a 2-minute conversation. And by the time we were done with that conversation, it was done. Okay. And yes, I know you have a lot of things that you're responsible for. You start your day with me on Wednesdays, and I promise I'll be done with the meat of the meeting by 8:50. That's 50, so that if you have hygiene going, you can run out and do your hygiene exams for that hour and then start your day. Or maybe you're on the East Coast, so it would be see some patients, meet with me, or maybe have breakfast, meet with me, and then start your day. I don't know, however you want to work it. But this is something that will reward you if you are willing to make that change. Okay, so that's objection number one. That would be, I would guess, the most common from you ladies. I have 3 more. Then we'll do questions and then our giveaway. Okay. Number 2, I can't afford it. Okay, I can see the worry. We're all worried about spending money right now. I totally get it. However, I would propose that you cannot afford not to join the mastermind because it will change how you run your practice. So the dividends will be rewarding you for the rest of your career. And even in the first, after we go through the case acceptance protocol and understanding what our brain's doing when we're making treatment plans, a week or 2 weeks maximum after we do that module, you will have paid for your program, the whole thing, guaranteed. If you show up, you apply, you're going to pay for it. I mean, it's such a ridiculously good deal. I actually decided this week that I'm going to raise the fee, but I'm going to do it next time. So this is the last time that it'll be $3,000. After that, it's going to be a lot more. I haven't decided exactly how much. Okay, 2 more objections. I don't know if it'll work for me. And I can understand that one too. Sometimes people worry that the life coaching won't work. And I can tell you, if you show up, if you do the work, it will transform your life. I know it will. In fact, I have a money back guarantee. If you come to your classes and you apply it, and you get to the end and you're like, that didn't work, you call me. I will give you your money back. I'm just a one-woman show, and I don't want to have a bad reputation. If you try it and it doesn't work, you can have your money back. Okay? So you're safe there. You don't have to worry about wasting your money. And I already said you'd make 10 times that amount back. And then the last one that I think I might be hearing from some people is worrying about privacy. And all I can say about that is that I ask our women to treat our mastermind like a sacred space, like we're bound by the HIPAA law. And the replays of the group, because I forgot to mention, there are replays if you miss a meeting. The replays are password protected. And if I ever see anyone not honoring the sacred space, they will be dismissed without a refund. Okay. Then we have to be a little bit vulnerable in order to get that support that we need, ladies. And what you'll find as you are in this group is that you have a group of women who are having a singular experience and you had no idea that you weren't alone. Okay. All right. So that's the objections. Thank you for staying with me. Nobody left. I'm going to address questions now, and I'm going to start with the first one here. And so I'm going to get going on these questions. Feel free to ask any questions that you want. And then as soon as we're done with questions, we'll do the giveaway. FYI, the giveaway is for live participants. And I will be asking you, if you want to be included, to type your name in the comments, because that's the only way I can keep track of you. And then I've got a little online tool that randomly picks a number for the giveaway. The giveaway, by the way, is half off the program. So it's like even more of a slam dunk. So, all right. Any advice on how to change your thought if there is another person involved in the action part? Yes. So here's the thing. The model never involves changing someone else's actions. However, it does involve determining how you are going to respond if they do A or B or something else. So in that way, what we're doing is we're changing how we feel, we're changing our own actions, and we're recognizing that the other person's actions don't create our feelings, because that happens up here in our minds. So for example, my husband is a conservationist. He hates putting things in the landfill. And we have an enormous 3+ car garage. And when we first moved to the country 2 years ago, he had that garage full of stuff. He wants to repurpose all of it. So could I give it away? Could I recycle it? I need to organize it, blah, blah, blah. It was June, and it's Iowa, and my car was hot every time I got into it because it was sitting in the hot, hot sun. And I wanted to be able to park in the garage. And I was angry because I was thinking in my mind, my car is hot. I'm tired of this. I deserve a spot in this garage. Okay. And I recognized that my anger was coming from the words in my mind, the thoughts. It wasn't coming from the fact that the garage was full. The fact of the matter, the fact of the situation was my husband has filled the garage with things, okay? And he did that, but my feelings come from inside me. If that doesn't completely answer your question, then please type some more in. Okay, someone said, read and watch the testimonials on my website. Yeah, so there's a little like 60-second, maybe 90-second testimonial video on the website. Just scroll down a little bit farther on loveyourpractice.net, not .org. Loveyourpractice.net is where you go to sign up, or you can watch the testimonials. These are people who are participating now in the mastermind, just to give you an idea of who's in there and what they're experiencing, for sure. Thank you. All right, I missed when we're meeting. We are meeting on Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. Central Time. You're going to start your day with me, and we are going to transform your day and your practices. Is there homework? Well, yes, there is a little bit of homework. I would encourage any of you who are thinking about participating to know that this takes some intentionality on your part. You can't show up to the meeting, have me talk at you, and then get the transformation, because I can't get inside your mind. So there are awareness practices that you do, and there is that act of putting those new thoughts in your mind. And so, yes, there is a little bit of homework. And I would say if you don't want to do that, do not join the program, because it won't work if you don't apply yourself. Okay. And also on that note, I would say you need to show up to class or re-watch the videos. The people who don't get results are the ones who aren't in there doing the stuff. Okay. So come be with me and we can do it. I have a vacation in June. Is that okay? Yes, absolutely. Because you can rewatch it later, or you can be like, kids, I'm grabbing a mimosa and I'm going to go listen to my mastermind, and I'll see you back in an hour. You could do either one. How will we meet? Will it be confidential? Yes. So we're going to meet on Zoom, and the replays will be on my password protected website. All right. I think that is all of the questions. So if you are still here, I need you to type your name into the Q&A in order to be eligible for the drawing to get half off tuition. So go ahead and put your names on there, and I'm going to fill in my wheel of names here. Okay. All right, we got like 30 more seconds if you want to put your name in to be eligible for half off. Okay. Anybody else? Click to spin. Okay. Aaron, you won. So if you already registered, call me. Congratulations. We're going to have a good time. And if you didn't register yet, I'm going to register you separately on a PayPal link. So because I don't know how to change it on my Kajabi. She says she's so excited. I'm excited for you. It's going to be a really good time. So yeah, so this concludes the webinar. Amazing. It's 8:04. I'm always worried I'm going to take too long. Thank you so much, ladies, for spending this time with me. I had such a good time. And Erin says, thank you. You're welcome. It's so fun. Such a good time with you. Thank you for listening to me and for being open to this change. And I hope to see you out there Wednesday mornings starting in March. We're going to have a good time. All right. Thank you. Take care.